crowning metric for us these days at the agency is shares and saves.
Shares and saves?
Mm-hmm. And the reason why we love that is because it shows that there's this underbelly of activity that's happening. You know, those kinds of tools have really transformed the space.
Meet Sara Akhavan, Marketing Director at Coast Creative. With a rich background in writing, creative direction, and marketing, Sara brings a unique blend of storytelling and strategic insight to the table. To contributing to renowned publications like Eater and Refinery 29. At Coast Creative, Sara specializes in crafting tailored branding and social media strategies for restaurants, hospitality brands, and consumer packaged goods. In this episode, she shares her journey and the innovative approaches that drive real results in the digital marketing landscape.
So I am the marketing director at the Coast Creative. We are a San Diego-based agency with a variety of clients across the nation. And I also dabble in writing and just content creation in my free time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What is the one thing you're the most proud of your social media work and professional life?
Ooh, great question. Strictly talking professional life.
Mm-hmm.
I think the diversity of the skill set that I've experienced. I've been in the industry for 12 years now.
Wow.
And started very, traditional, studying advertising, journalism, and entrepreneurship in school. Those are my degrees that I graduated with.
Mm-hmm.
So very traditional kind of academic background of like studying what media to buy, where are best industries best suited to spread the word about their company, their brand.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that quickly divulged into getting into social media. As I mentioned, I've done some professional writing before. I've been published in Eater.
So as a writer, I feel that the bridge in between writing and then social media, was it hard to do or was it easy to do because you had that writing background?
Yeah, I would say copywriting, maybe half a decade ago was of utmost importance when it came to your brand and how you presented yourself in a digital space. People, I would say, actually read those days.
Yeah.
Captions were, these informative spaces where people could learn about who you are, what you bring to the table. Nowadays, it really has been watered down. And I know we talked about AI for a hot second, and I'm a little worried about how, untraditional we've taken it thus far. But I would say, yes, having that experience in writing absolutely, sets anyone up for success in social media and branding overall.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
What was the biggest challenge that you have from copywriting into social media in the last 10 years?
Yeah, so at large, I think advertising in general has totally transformed in the past decade. Used to be, if I had a brand that I wanted to promote, am I getting billboard space? Am I buying space in a newspaper ad on a Sunday? Am I decking out, a giant experimental sort of ad in the airport? There are all these spaces that people would consider taking their brand to. And very quickly, with the invention of our favorite, digital brick that we all carry in our phones, our iPhones, that quickly just condensed everything into one platform, i.e. social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all of these social media platforms that have taken the world by storm.
What was your biggest challenge? Like you hit a wall, it's like, oh my God, I have to adapt.
Yeah, I would say within that, transformation, just consumer behavior being all trapped into one device, it makes it hard to break through when everyone's taking over the same exact digital space.
Right.
So there's a balance between you want to, in some ways, emulate what other brands in the same industry are doing to stay relevant, but then you have to always ask yourself, well, how do I also want to stand out at the same time? So how do you answer that question? Don't want to be too outlandish, but too avant-garde, but you also do want to catch people's attentions outside of, the competition. So what's the right answer there?
Right. And which one is it?
Still one we're asking ourselves.
Oh, okay. We haven't found that.
But we're closer. We're closer now, yes. And I would say the evolution of social media being a space that was primarily visually driven by just photos and captions, like we said, has, quickly transformed, as you're well aware, to a video space, right? So all of a sudden we went from our eyes processing still photography and captions, understanding maybe a more formal message about a brand, to being these blips of like dopamine inducing,
Right.
you know, just scrolling, lots of movement, lots of senses engaged through video. So I feel like, you know, even a couple of years ago when Reels were first introduced, it was like pandemonium where it was like, oh my gosh, everything is a video. We need video right away. You know, you were, you know, helping us out with that. Now I feel like we're in a really beautiful space where we've overdosed on the video. Still imagery is somewhat making a comeback, definitely through carousels, etc. And now I feel like people do appreciate a little bit more of a thoughtfully written caption or language behind a brand with all of the influx of, you know, everyone else using short poppy AI, easy stuff.
So in video, you said a lot of people got saturated with video in the last 10 years. People are becoming more thoughtful and more, I would say, economical with their
intention.
Yeah.
I think we've all heard, you know, viewership is currency in these days, like however many views. It used to be likes. Now, what I really enjoy about social media, it's becoming a bridge between entertainment and education.
Okay.
So again, more intentional, more thoughtful themes,
Yeah.
right? Going behind what you're posting. And I love, you know, there's crowning metric for us these days at the agency is shares and saves.
Shares and saves?
Versus
so shares like on
and
Instagram?
comments. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And the reason why we love that is because it shows that there's this underbelly of activity that's happening after you post something. It's not just about surface level, who's liked it, who's commented. There's this after effect of what you post where there's almost a second wave of engagement between people personal relationships that are formed of, oh, how did you make that happen? Here's a post that demonstrates that. Or where should we go on our next trip? Well, here's my collaborative folder that I've just invited you to that has all of my saved posts on Instagram of all the restaurants I want to eat at when we go to Florence. You know, those kinds of tools have really transformed the space. It's interesting. I feel like social media crept up on everyone. And right as we were learning how it all worked, boom, everything changes, right? And there's been some
examples?
Yeah, some really exciting changes in the past few years. We mentioned Reels and, you know, the evolution of video, how that's kind of just like, honestly, a bread and butter of your social media strategy. You got to have video in there somewhere. Number two, I would say, what metrics are we looking at that are new? Old school way used to be, well, this only got 20 likes, you know, and only 2 comments. Well, it also got 30 saves and, you know, a dozen shares. So it is being seen and heard and talked about. Maybe people are, you know, a little self-conscious to like something publicly more than they used to be. Exactly. Yeah, it pops up on your friends'
What is
pages.
the impact? Did you see, let's say 20 likes versus 50 shares or saves? What's the impact that it has?
Well, what I love about shares and saves is that you are already ensuring a double-ended activity there. If you are liking a post, that's it. You put 1 penny in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
If you are sending it or saving it or sharing it, chances are you are sharing that with another person. Thus, there is automatically another set of eyes that's going to see that. And the aim being that it grows into a network of people that see that post, or, you know, starting with just your circle of friends, hopefully.
I see your point. Yeah. So it creates that micro community because a save, you're sending it to someone, and a share is, you know, you can do it as a list that you mentioned.
Absolutely. Yes. Micro community is a great word to describe it.
Very interesting.
Yeah, you would think inherently quality equals quality, right? Quality equals success, quality equals momentum on social media, but the keyword being social in there has transformed what you need for it to be successful. So media, if you have a great, beautiful photo in a magazine or, you know, in traditional media sources, you're onto something. But it being social media, you need to have that spark of inspiration that gets people chatting, gets people interacting with it, being social with the content. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be perfect looking, right? It needs to grab our attention in a unique way. So there is this whole new area of, you know, I'm shooting on my phone, but how can I make this really funny or catchy or cheeky versus let me just make this look as beautiful as possible.
I see. What are the current trends that you see right now on like, organic filmmaking?
So
or social?
Definitely just being authentic. You know, I said earlier, not everyone has been to a studio, but everyone's been to a coffee shop, or everyone's been to a concert, or using spaces that are used on an everyday basis that everyone can kind of picture themselves in creates really beautiful backgrounds, right? Or relatable backgrounds for, some really great social pieces of content. I would also say humor goes a tremendously long way, something you can laugh at. People are going to their social media platforms to have a good time, entertain themselves, kind of just like let their brain rot after the end of a long day. And nothing will make you, like a post faster than something that makes you laugh.
With AI, you're getting all these beautiful images, you're getting quality content, and a lot of companies are, instead of spending $50,000 on a commercial, they can spend $100 to $500 and have a commercial.
Right.
What's your take on that and the future of AI and social media?
Definitely. I mean, is there any topic more discussed, these days than AI in the digital world? I would say you can't doubt that the future is half human, half robot. I would say some people think it's 100% going to be AI and robot dependent, but I still think no matter how far we go down that road, you will still need a human element to refine, to bring emotion and relatability to something.
It's close.
It's close. I know.
Close. I know.
Close.
But,
I know.
But you can tell if you watch something, you can tell that's AI.
You can tell exactly, and it reminds me a lot of the fast food revolution, right? Back in the 50s.
How so?
Oh, all of a sudden, I can feed my whole family for cheap, and it's quick and convenient, and it's prepackaged and great, like it tastes awesome.
Right.
And then here we are, years later discovering the consequences or the not so great effects of getting things at a quicker, faster pace, right?
Yeah. And you're going for organic food because now you have microplastics on the food. Yeah.
So it begs to wonder what that impact will be, but I do believe just in stylistic terms, once we all see every brand using AI, we're going to get tired of that style and we're going to be begging for something new to refresh the landscape.
I do agree. Yeah, like it reminds me like the old school like Snow White that just looks fantastic animation, it had that emotion in it. But with the AI revolution, I just watched Simon Sinek talk about how with fast food or the industrial revolution, you had all these industrial workers going off, losing jobs because, the industrial revolution, the machines are doing it now, and you had a lot of white collar jobs, that were more intellectual. AI comes in, and all the intellectuals are going to lose their job.
Right.
But now you go back into the human elements of doing the work manually, plumbers, fixing mechanics, building stuff, and becoming more human in the way you do it.
Exactly. Yes.
What are your recommendations for the future and Coast Creative?
So, for the future, I would say kind of boiling this all down into how accessible social media management is these days. We're talking about how just with your phone or with AI or in all of the regards of social media, imagery, copywriting, supposedly it could be a one-person show, right? And we do see the emergence of a lot of content creators who are positioning themselves as social media managers as well.
Yeah,
and
there's a lot in San Diego because the barrier of entry is so low.
Exactly. Barrier of entry is low. Very, lucrative point of time right now to go into that field. And a lot of business owners, their ears perk up when they hear that they can get social media management at maybe a lesser price point than they would with working with an agency. And what my recommendation is and my stance on it is, while I worry about it a little bit, I don't worry about it too much because, you pay half, you got to do it twice. So eventually, we do see a lot of business owners and clients come around and say, you know what, I was using, this one person to do everything. And the benefit of working with a full circle team and an agency like Coast Creative is that, with our services, you have an entire team and an extension of your brand, not just a disposable, 2-3 month stint with someone who doesn't really care to learn the ins and outs of your brand, but really just there to check off boxes.
They're burned out. It's a one-man army. Yeah.
Exactly. And I can say that with full confidence because I've been on the other side. I did freelance work myself, right? And I had my own clients and running around town. It's exhausting. So
it is, yeah.
I also feel like on that end, we're exploring the idea of what is it like to partner with these content creators who have more than just experience creating content and work together to create a successful future for everyone, not working against each other, seeing them as our competition.
Team, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel you. So if somebody's watching, where do they find Coast Creative? How do they get in touch with you?
Yes, so you can find Coast Creative on Instagram, of course. TikTok, we have slid under the radar with, maybe we should make that happen this year, but you can find us on Instagram at The Coast Creative, as well as our website. And yeah, stay tuned for more talking points.
Well, thank you, Sarah. It was very illustrious talking to you, and I hope you enjoyed the coffee.
Always a pleasure.
Always
Thanks,
a
Oz.
pleasure. Thank you.